So I want to do a review of the radio show Coast to Coast AM. It's a show I've heard for many years. I like the show. It's a good show. This should be a fairly complimentary review, but there are criticisms I have of it, of course. Of Coast to Coast AM. Um, which quick summary is basically a nightly show on a lot of AM radio stations. They talk about aliens and ghosts and the paranormal, and mostly aliens and paranormal activity. Um, that's what Coast to Coast AM is, a show about paranormal activity, mostly about aliens and stuff. Um, so let me tell you what my history in Coast to Coast AM is, my relationship with it. Um, the first time I heard originally, well, my dad started listening to it long before I started listening to it. And I don't listen to it that much now either. I'm not saying I listen to it. I've almost never listened to it. I don't even like the show that much. I'm just saying I only rarely listen to it today. But it's like maybe once or twice a year I'll listen to it. It's not one of my regular shows or anything like that. And it's a radio show. Who listens to radio shows? But um, anyways, my dad started watching it probably in the 90s. He probably watched it when it was called, I guess, Art Bell. I my dad I didn't know if it was called Coast to Coast back then, but he uh my dad used to say Art Bell this, Art Bell that, and basically my dad would kind of got brainwashed in this thing called Planet X. He got brainwashed in this Planet X thing, and he made it think like it was the end of the world and some alien world was gonna crash into the earth or something nonsense like that, or some alternate dimension, Planet X was coming. And it really warped his mind. It warped my mind. I was in the fifth grade. I was in the fifth grade when I learned about Planet X, and my dad was telling me, "Oh, it's going to be the end of the world. I'm gonna go get a shelter in the mountains. I'm gonna, uh, you know, stick a sheet of metal in front of our family so the Planet X doesn't destroy us." And my dad was always a little bit not off, but just my dad was easily convinced of things. I guess gullible. All right, my dad is very gullible, and he's this whole Planet X thing is a perfect example of why my dad is gullible, because he believes that some alien planet is gonna whatever. I've convinced my dad not to be like that. I don't know why he's like that. He's always had financial problems, and I always have financial problems too. But he that's why I think he's interested in alien activity, or he has been interested in alien activity, because I think he doesn't feel at home in this world, in the sense that I don't feel at home in this world either. I don't. A lot of times, I personally feel like an alien because I don't really fit into any one place, and a lot of times I feel like I don't belong in any one situation. So I do feel like an alien. And my dad's never said this before, but I would assume my dad feels a little bit like an alien too sometimes. That's why he watches. I mean, that's why he listens to Coast AM so much. Now he listens to it very regularly still today. I don't think he believes it. I convinced him not to believe the conspiracy theories, because Coast to Coast AM is a show about conspiracy theories. It's 100% about conspiracy theories. Sometimes there's science, and sometimes there's just news or whatever. Very rarely is politics, but very, not usually politics, but more like general news. Um, I stop this fan. Anyways, so it's a show about conspiracy theories, and I've convinced my dad to stop listening to conspiracy theories. So, anyways, back to this beginning. So first he was worried about Planet X, and maybe even before he told me about Planet X, he tried to get me to listen to Coast to Coast. He tried to get me to listen to Art Bell. Back then, it was hosted by Art Bell, and then Art Bell was driven off the air by this one, nut job. Was Art Bell left the show because some guy was threatening Art Bell because of some reason. I haven't read Art Bell's whole Wikipedia page. I just read the first third of his Wikipedia page before I started recording this, just so I know who was Art Bell. Because I started listening Coast to Coast probably about 12 years ago, when Art Bell was long gone from the show, and he had left the show. I think he passed away like 3 years ago today, 3 years ago this year. like 2019, I think Art Bell passed away, and he was the creator of Coast to Coast. But it was, my dad just called it Art Bell, right? My dad would just call it Art Bell, and just like this science fiction TV show or science fiction radio show. I mean, um, so the thing is like it's a show about conspiracy theories. Originally, it was my dad would just call it Art Bell, um, and he tried to get me to listen to it, but my mom didn't let me stay up past midnight when I was a kid. So I didn't really listen to it until I was like 19 years old, 18, 19, 20 years old. I guess I probably listened to it for real the first time. I was 20, maybe I started listening to it. But I didn't have a life when I was 20. Most people were like going to parties and stuff. I was listening to like midnight radio shows and stuff. So Coast to Coast AM starts at midnight. I think it goes to like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. or something. I don't know how the exact time it goes, but it Coast to Coast AM is a science fiction show on in the middle of the night. The middle of the night, they have these callers that are all neurotic people, and they're like, "Oh, there's aliens," and oh, all this stuff, all this worried about all this nonsense. And basically, over the years, it's basically my dad's favorite show for the past 20 years or so. Because my dad's like, a lot of his life, he was like too poor to afford cable TV or too poor to afford like much of anything. So he was able to buy these like $2 radios from Walmart, and he was able to, while he was homeless, he was able to listen to Coast AM. And it's just something he did while he was homeless. And he was able to listen to a radio show while he was homeless. So it gave him something to do. It gave him something to look forward to. By the way, this is a good show. I'm not saying it's a bad show. Just conspiracy theories are not necessarily bad. Conspiracy theories give people something to believe in. Okay? The Bible is a conspiracy theory. The Bible is a conspiracy theory that many people around the world believe. Quran is pronounce the word correctly. The Quran is a conspiracy theory. That Islam is a conspiracy theory. Every major religion is a conspiracy theory. There's nothing wrong with, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with conspiracy theories because people need something to believe in. People need faith. People need to believe in something greater than themselves. If that's aliens or ancient aliens or other spirits or God or ghosts, do whatever makes life livable, man. You should believe in whatever makes life livable. And I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. If you need conspiracy theories to make life livable, you should do it. Like I used to have conversations with my dad about this. I was like, why do you listen to this show? It's such garbage. My dad's like, I know, but it's like a soap opera for him, or it's like the tabloids. You know, people buy tabloids at the supermarket checkout line, and it's like it's they know the tabloids aren't real, but people buy them anyway. It's just because it's a fascinating story on the cover. It's just like some made up story on the front cover of the tabloid. And people buy it because they want some wild story. They know it's not real. Or it's like the same reason why people watch Fox News, because they want some Republican conspiracy theories. They know Fox News isn't real news, but they want the crazy information. It or say a tabloid. It's like people believe tabloids because they want to believe in something wacky and wild. It's the same thing. Um, so Coast to Coast AM, like, it's a cool show. I listen to it about once or twice a year. Literally just once or twice a year. I don't listen to it more than that. I don't. But it's a cool show. If you want to people talk about aliens or ghosts or whatever, if you honestly believe it's real, this stuff will really mess up your life. Like if you really believe the end of the world is coming, because like if you believe that the Planet X is like the biggest ongoing conspiracy theory they talk about on, and if you believe Planet X is basically means you believe in the end of the world is coming very soon. Very soon, the end of the world is coming. And I feel bad for these people listening to this show, Coast to Coast, because these conspiracy theories are rotting their brains, and it's like I feel bad for them because what are you gonna? How can you believe this stuff? Like your lives are so messed up that you have to believe things that are so untrue, that are to believe in something so weird and so wild to make life livable. It's really the same thing as Christianity. It's not any different than Christianity. The only difference is Christianity is more accepted with the mainstream culture, whereas if you're an alien nut job, if you're an alien nerd, then you're just like um, you're just a little, I don't know what the phrase is, to the left. You're like a hippie, I guess. You're a little bit like a little bit in left field. I think the phrase is called left field, not left of center, but I mean left field. Like you're a little bit left field if you're believe in alien conspiracy theories. So I don't believe in alien conspiracy theories. I believe aliens might be real, but I have no evidence of them. I believe there might be UFOs, but I don't have hard evidence that there are UFOs or there aren't UFOs. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm not here to tell you like whether that's real or whether that's not. So there's this debate about it, and then on the show Coast to Coast they debate: are aliens real? Are ghosts real? Are witches real? Are vampires real? All this paranormal stuff. They debate on the show whether or not they're real, and they say, and now since George Bell left or Art Bell left the show about 15 years ago, or almost or 18 years ago, Art Bell left the show. George Norrie has hosted the show. George Norrie, I think, is really good. And the thing I like about George Norrie is he says after every he has these guests on who have like really convoluted stories, and George Norrie the entire time he's like, oh, that's interesting. Oh wow, I never knew that. Oh wow, that's pretty neat. That's pretty cool. I've never thought of that could happen. That's a really intriguing idea. And George Norrie is the one that keeps the whole show together. Because George Norrie he basically sounds like he believes all the guests. Now, I don't know if he actually believes the guest or he has an open mind and he thinks, oh, sure, maybe the guests they have interesting, he brings the guests on with interesting stories where they, talk about ghosts and aliens and all this stuff and talk about, science fiction and all this stuff that's impossible, or maybe it is possible, who knows. And, George Norrie thinks it's a bunch of wonderful ideas, and he thinks it's pretty cool. Every time someone says a wacky idea, he says, oh, that's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. And even my dad says, that's pretty neat. That's pretty neat. And my dad always says the phrase, that's pretty neat. I think he got it from George Norrie. I think he got the phrase, that's pretty neat from George Norrie. My dad always said, that's pretty neat. That's pretty cool. Um, so, or isn't that neat? Isn't that neat? He always says. I like George Norrie. He has these wild guests on the show, and then he says like, "Oh, well, that's a cool idea. I never thought of that before. Oh, that's really interesting." I love George Norrie's reactions to these wild stories that the guests have. Now, the more wild the guests are, the less I'm interested in it. I'm more interested in the hard sciences people. Like I like when he has archaeologists on the show because archaeologists is an actual thing, right? I like when he has like real scientists on the show because that's an actual thing. I like when they have like real futurists or real scientists, real archaeologists, real historians. Sometimes they have historians or people talking about current events. They have experts on the show who are actual experts, and I like to hear George Norrie interact with those actual experts. I do not like when George Norrie has people talking about Planet X, people talking about a specific type of alien race that's interacting with us on a daily basis, and and the crystals are morphing our brains into and all these weird stories they come up with, and this time travel and all this. I mean, I'm interested in time travel, sure, but don't tell me stories about how all this is real and it's all interacting in our life right now constantly. It's like I want to hear about time travel too, but I don't want to believe that it's like a real constant thing. You know what I mean? What I'm trying to say is I like hard science. I like interesting science fiction. I like archaeology. I like history. I like when he has relevant guests on. I like when George Norrie has relevant guests on Coast to Coast. I do not like when he has the really weird people. The really weird people, I feel bad for because they're not making any sense. And like the callers that call into them, they sound like they're not making any sense either. And I just wonder what is going on. And like my dad, when he listens to so much of the show, he just like he starts believing it too. So, but I'm able to convince my dad. My camera's messed. I'm able to convince my dad that to not believe everything that's on the show, and to not, I don't know why my camera's so messed up, and to not to think that it's some like basis of reality. Like Coast to Coast doesn't tell you a basis of reality. It shows you a lot of weird ideas. If you want to hear weird ideas, you should listen to the show, and it's maybe the best radio show in the world for weird ideas. But if you got to understand, this stuff is made up. This stuff is stories they're telling people to entertain people. And if you don't understand that, you're going to get confused and you're going to get delusional about what this show is. This is a made up stories that people bring in to entertain you. In the same way people watch wrestling. Okay? As long as you understand pro wrestling isn't real, they're made up stories to entertain people, then it's fine. Pro wrestling isn't real, but you can pretend it's real, or it's like magic. You want to pretend magic is real, you want to pretend Harry Potter is real, do it. Pretend magic is real. There's nothing wrong with that. I believe magic can be real. I believe in wishes. I believe in all different kinds of magic. However, I don't really think it's real, like real, you know what I mean? I think the idea of magic is real. I don't actually think magic is real. I think the idea of aliens are real. I don't actually think aliens are real, though. I think aliens could be possible, but they wouldn't affect my life anyway. So they're not, that aliens don't affect our world in the same way. I believe God could be real. But I don't believe God is real. I don't think God is real. Even though I admit he could be real. We could have a creator in the universe, sure, but I have no evidence of that. So the problem with conspiracy theories is people think like, oh, this is like a real way of viewing the world. No, it's not a real way of viewing the world. It's just a way to pass your time, and it's just a way to look into some foolish concept. And it's fun to think about, like pro wrestling or like the tabloids or like soap operas, but it's not real. Tabloids and pro wrestling, it's not real. So Coast to Coast AM is a good show. 2 thumbs up. If you become too obsessed with it, I kind of don't really understand you, but I understand that it's an entertaining show, and maybe if you don't have Netflix, maybe Coast to Coast is the best program you can find. If you don't have Netflix, go for it. And that's cool. Some people can't afford Netflix. You know what? Coast to Coast is free. All you need is a radio. It's a free show. How many free science fiction shows are there? Probably very few. Very few free science fiction shows. If you don't have Netflix, you don't have Disney Plus, you don't have HBO Max, you know what? Go for it. Go listen to Coast to Coast. It's a free show about science fiction. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with a free show about the paranormal. Nothing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think it's a cool show. They talk about ghosts. They tell ghost stories. What's wrong with that? If you take it too seriously, it can mess up your life. It scared the crap out of me when I heard those stories about Planet X when I was in the 5th grade. My dad was telling me about Planet X. It scared the crap out of me. However, who cares? Who cares that it scared me? There's nothing wrong with ghost stories. There's nothing wrong with scaring little kids with stories that don't make any sense. Because what was I going to do when I was in the 5th grade? I don't have any regrets. I don't have any regrets. I would do the same thing again if I... Anyways, that's a different story. But so I give Coast to Coast AM 2 thumbs up. I don't really listen to it regularly, but maybe once or twice a year. You should check it out sometime if you want to hear a free, dumb radio show. It's all right. It's entertaining. It's not going to blow your mind, but it's kind of cool. Or as George Norris said, it's pretty neat. Isn't that pretty neat? I always says that. No, it's a good show. It's not like, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it, but it's kind of weird. You have to be in that weird mood for the weird time of night to listen to that. Anyways, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think of Coast to Coast AM? Do you like it, or do you think it's not a very good show? I know some people are really into it, some people aren't. But let me know in the comments below what you think of that show. I think it's all right personally, but I mean, there's better shows on YouTube and Netflix and stuff. But I think it's a pretty good show. It's all right. So please subscribe to this channel to be part of the community. And please like this video. It really helps the channel out a lot. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Bye.